Hugely relevant. Okay, so thanks for coming to the business plan workshop. I'm Rebecca Conley. I'm from Durham, North Carolina. And I appreciate the technical help. So the reason that I frame this as a workshop and the reason I want us to talk to each other is like I have an MBA that I got in the States, right? So I got my MBA and then I was all, I got all sort of idealistic and I was like, okay, I went down to Haiti for a while. And all these things that I had learned in the MBA about this is how you do business, you can imagine that down in Haiti, the rules are different. So that's the reason that I don't want it to just be a lecture of like, these are some principles of business, because doing business in Latin America is very different. Also, yo no soy bilingüe, pero espero que ese workshop es bilingüe. Entonces, si quieres hacer preguntas o comentarios en español, está bien. Sí, porque es PyCaribbean, ¿no? Okay. So, the name of this workshop is Answering the Hard Questions. Now, what kind of questions do I mean? Hey. Oh, okay, there's me. So, yeah, this is me. I have an MBA, and my friend's dad gave me this word to describe me after the other day. I posted on Facebook, I hate mofongo. Okay. So, and you know, and in talking about, I did live in Haiti for a while, and while there are a lot of challenges to doing business in Latin America, there's also these. They're good, right? This part. This is outside my Airbnb. Somebody had written it on the wall, and I took a picture of it. Posibilidades. Okay, so answering the hard questions. So this is an interview question I had. It's a pretty hard, Python question. But these aren't the kind of hard questions that I mean. The kind of questions we have to answer in business are hard not because they're complex or technically difficult, but because they get at real truths and they get at, have you thought about this? So the first one is, if you have a business, what does it do? What does it do? And so, and since this is the first question, and since this is a workshop, I see somebody's got notebooks. So if you've got a thing to write with or on, what I'd like you to do is, as I ask these questions, to answer them. And at a point we'll share if we want to. I'm not going to make anybody reveal their next greatest idea. But see the thing, and I think this dovetails well with Tracy's presentation, because I'm asking you to practice. Because how do we get better as developers? We practice, right? How do we get better at having these business conversations? We practice. Somebody did this for me the other day, made me actually think about and write this down, which is different than having the idea in your head, no? So, what does it do? Now, your business, your it, could be, somebody say what kind of business they have, if you want to. You're in a co-working space. Does anybody else here run a business already? Trey, what's your business? Python training. Okay, so he's in the training business. Now, your business can also be you. As I've understood from conversations, a lot of the business of software development, particularly here, is you working as a freelancer. So maybe the it here is you as a developer. What do you do? And if you are marketing yourself. The it can also be an organization or nonprofit. The it could be, what's the name of your organization, my name? I'm going to give you a little plug here. Tell everybody. Okay. Did you hear her? What's the name of your organization?
Estamos comenzando
Yes. So it might not be a business that's intended to make money. It can also be a nonprofit. I think I've gone through this process with a lot of nonprofits, and it works well. You still have to know, it helps you get to your mission, right? Because especially with nonprofits, it can be like, what do we do? Well, we do everything because we want to save the world, right? That's too much. So this is a really good question. What does it do? So is anybody ready to answer this question for their business? If I walked up to you in an elevator, what does it do? Would you be ready to answer? What does Code With Us do? Okay, good. So let's take some time. This is a very hard question to answer. This is not a complicated question. It is to me, it's a hard question, because it means you also have to define what does it not do. You know, either for yourself or as an organization. That's when I have trouble with myself. What do I not do? Well, sure, I could do that, or I could do this, or I could do that, right? But that confuses people, right? What does it do? Okay, so we've had some time. And these slides will go up so you can revisit the question. Okay.
Does it have to do with entrepreneurship?
Yeah, so, right, the idea behind this is I view entrepreneurship as a big, as my friend would say, a big garage, right? Because you as an individual could be an entrepreneur marketing your skills as a freelancer. You could be starting a startup that has a very specific project. You could have a consultancy as a group of entrepreneurs. You could be starting a business that provides web services as a group. You know, and again, I see the best nonprofits as entrepreneurs as well. Their return is maybe not financial, it's social, but still, I think of it in an entrepreneurship mindset. Yes, and please do feel free to stop and ask questions as we go. Okay. So yeah, so then the next question you would often get, so maybe from a VC, let's say you've developed an app and there's somebody, a potential funder. What does it do? And can you describe clearly and quickly and concisely, what does your thing do? And again, the it might be you, or your organization, or your small business, or your app. So let's see, let's say oops. Did that just, okay, and can I try it out? Right, because people want to try before they buy. Whether that's a service or whether that's an actual object, right? You want to taste the thing. You know, do they have in the Costco's here, do they have the tasting? Like where you can taste the thing? Right, yeah. People want to try before they buy. Can I try it out? So what are the ways that, you know, what are the ways somebody could see what it does before making the commitment, but without giving away everything for free, right? Because this is a balance. If you get, which I'm sure you know in the training business, it's a balance. If you give away too much for free, you have to give away enough that somebody believes you, you know, be that your services, actually particularly in the freelancing. How many of you are freelancers? Is anybody here in freelancer? Okay. How often do you get asked to do something for free? Often, yeah? Yeah, people are like, oh, I want to try it out. So I think this is a question where if the it is you, we have to be very, very careful. Like, yes, you can, but you can try it out by seeing this blog that I wrote. Again, referring back to Tracy's presentation, if you have a professional portfolio, you don't need to then, you know, prove yourself, right? You're proven, you're there. You've followed Tracy's presentation and you've got a great online presence. Sure, you can try it out. Go look at all this stuff I already did. And then, and then if it's an app, you know, again, that was the slide she had with how to build a minimum viable product. If it's an app, do you have something that actually somebody could try out and as a user experience? Okay. So this question, how does it create value? So let me take a poll. How many people here are freelance? Freelance. How many people have small business?
Freelance and solo, right?
Yeah, solo, yeah. ¿Cómo se dice en español freelance? There isn't a word freelance? Spanglish, no? Freelance. Okay. So small business, like consultancy, anybody have that?
Yeah.
You have that?
Consultor.
I'm sorry?
That's kind of freelance. A consultor.
Yeah, exactly. It's freelancers together in a. I'm sorry? Yeah, independent. And then has anybody worked in a startup, or does anybody have a startup? Had? Okay. All right. And then you don't, like I said, you don't have to tell me if you have the next big idea and you're just sitting on it. Just shh. Just keep this in the back of your mind. And then, okay, so how does it create value? So can I put you on the spot and ask you, how does your work create value? Can anybody answer that readily? What?
Someone else money, time.
Okay, it saves them money and time because?
He enhances some part of a business operation. Someone else is making the customer life easier, maybe.
Maybe. Does it make your life customer easier? Maybe. It makes your customers' lives easier. Punto. So yeah, but again, this is why this is painful, but this is why we do this, right? Is because you do it in a friendly, low risk environment and with each other, then it gets better. Yeah. Okay. So right. So you made a very good point. What you're offering is is to make somebody's life easier. That has value, and saving them time. That has value. Which raises the next question, which is a slightly different question, and that Russell talked a lot about this morning. How does it make money? Different question. How does it create value? How does it make money? Right? We talked in this morning in Russell's talk, he talked about how there's lots of stuff that people in the open source community do that creates value. Not necessarily this. So if this is your business, you have to be able to put a monetary value on the value that you've created, right? So, and so part of that is, to think about how much time, where can you quantify? Where can you put numbers? How much time are you saving? How much money did you save that last client, right? How much more efficient is this new thing? How much potential, what is the monetary cost of not doing it?
That's the value.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So, yeah,
In the case of her, it's non-profit.
Yeah,
Because I guess she has to assign some kind of value to her. But not necessarily the monetary value.
absolutely. Yeah, that's hard. And nonprofits more and more are getting asked to be able to do that. So let's think about it. So if you have a nonprofit, or if you're teaching, or PyBeware, or whatever, how do those add value? When you have something that doesn't have, it's adding value, but it's not monetary value. So what value does it add? Let's say Django Girls. What value did Django Girls add? That was free and it didn't earn any money, so do it.
It actually strengthens Django
Okay.
because it creates more
right?
It's empowering people to use Django.
Uh-huh.
So it's doing, social value significant. Potentially giving people an opportunity to go on and use Django.
Yeah.
And so anything they do with Django is value created by Django. It wouldn't happen if you didn't have it. So it's downstream value.
Yes, I like that term, downstream value. And this is why this is, like you said, a battle. Because this is not immediately tomorrow, you're going to get another $1 million, right? This is arguing for the long-term benefits of things. And just like if you're an entrepreneur and you've got, say, a new app, your value is going to be way downstream, right? So, or your money, actually, that one, your value may be right away, but the money comes in later. So yeah, how do you monetize it, right? And so like in the case of nonprofits, how do you monetize for an organization, this is worth 5,000 of your marketing dollars, or this is worth 5,000 of your donation dollars? Or like for, like for setting rates as an individual, like how does the work we do match the dollars? And at a point, you have to kind of make an assertion, right? Like as a freelancer, you have to at some point set a rate, right? The market's not going to
You have to set up a bar. You
Yeah.
have to set up like a standard bar.
Okay.
And then compare your work to other people's work and say what makes my work unique. And obviously, you need to get some feedback from other people too, because it's not your opinion alone. It's not your own product. So, yeah.
Right. So then we're getting to some of the next questions that we need to ask. Who are your customers? Who are they? How well do you know them? Again, be it for freelance, like how well do you know the needs of the businesses in your region? If it's an app, if it's a product, have you studied the market? Who's going to use it? If it's a nonprofit, who's going to attend your events? Who are, and again, that's something from Tracy's talk. Who are they? Especially if they're not you. That was a very good point that she made. Know your customers, especially if they're not you, if they're unlike you. Okay. This is a really hard one. This is one of these not complicated but hard, right? Who are you? And to your point, what makes you different than somebody else? What is that thing that you do in a particular way, that particular skill set that's different from everybody else? So yeah, this one, I'm not going to put anybody on the spot to answer this existential question, unless anybody wants to. Does somebody have like a revelation? No. And who are you in the context, too? Like, I'm different things in different contexts. Right now, I'm a tech conference speaker. I'm also a tap dancer, right? Both of those, are part of who I am, but what am I emphasizing in the given moment? And this is, an extended, who is on your team, if you have a team. Who are they? How does your team skill set match up, to make a stronger, group? What makes the same questions you would ask about yourself, you would ask about the team. What is your team good at? What is it about the way your team works together that gives you an advantage? Is your team good at communicating with each other? Is your team quick? Is your team thorough? Okay. Who are your competitors? So this is, this is a really important one. Like, do you know who you're competing against, right? Because you design your message to put yourself in a specific position in the market. So who are your competitors? And oftentimes, actually with software development, your competitors aren't necessarily enemies, because like food trucks. I've seen a couple food trucks here. A few food trucks, yeah? Okay. In the places where food trucks have really taken off in the States, you don't see one food truck, you see 5. Same here? Yeah, you have a food truck rodeo or food truck event, right? So again, this who is your competitors doesn't necessarily need to be this antagonistic relationship, because you're kind of all working, particularly if you're trying to create a market that isn't really here yet, you've kind of got to work together, right? Yeah.
Elon Musk at Tesla, he opened up his patents for precisely that reason.
Yeah.
So other people creating electric cars are his allies. His competitors are electric cars.
Well, and Django is open source, right? So, Python is open source. So yeah, I think that this is twofold. This is know your competitors and their strengths and weaknesses so you can position yourself to compete with them, but also so you can figure out where you can partner together. I mean, this place, there are probably technically competitors who are right next door to each other in this building, right? But because these that's a co-working space as an example, right? You talk to each other. Okay, so this is the one that I'm definitely not going to tell you. This is the one I want us to think about together. Can I get a survey? Who's here from Puerto Rico? Puerto Rico, DR? But you're in school in Puerto Rico? Yeah. Okay. And who's from Australia? Where else? Where did I miss? States from the U.S.? Bermuda. I know we have Bermuda. Where did I miss? Okay, I got everybody. So I'd like you to tell me and each other, what are your major challenges? Because this is that arena where we've got to talk to each other about the challenges, because that's where we burn out as individuals, is trying to address the challenges alone, right? So what thoughts do we have on what challenges we encounter in our industry where we live? Yeah.
Mine is people like now are already doing very nicely in that situation, so they have no incentive to change, and they don't realize that they could be doing even better.
Could you give an example?
So the example of that would be, it's like a company that has grown up the market and it becomes complacent. So it's complacency.
So right, so if your client is the best X in Bermuda, they're or the best Y in Puerto Rico. So what's the motivation? Yeah. And so what, right? So we're fine, yeah. Right. Does anybody else see that, where they are? What do we do about that? Yeah.
Definitely there needs some competition. Well,
So maybe, well, I think that's, one area in which we can, potentially the tech sector could maybe be a leader is if we are going to different places and making connections. Like, okay, maybe tech company, maybe tech company A is really big here, but you meet somebody from company B, major large tech company, when you go to PyCon or DjangoCon and you have a conversation. And just like when I was like, there's a startup, I had all sorts of assumptions about Latin America and whatever, and I said, oh, there's startup. I didn't know that things like this existed until I met Froilan. So maybe part of it is just making people aware that there's a market, you know, in general. Any other thoughts on challenges? Some challenges that I've heard is sometimes politically, or the idea that you've got to know somebody, right? Like permit, you got to get the permit for this and the permit for that, and right, there could be lots of obstacles to starting a business. Is that true? Am I true? Can you say more about that?
Some people could specialize in finding a market niche or an area where specialize be also a challenge.
And why do you think that's a challenge?
Yeah, well, me as a professional, sometimes software development, and I have a lot of time to well, maybe I can do something good, but how can I make myself different? How can I different restaurants and stuff there, something specialized in that could be also a challenge. Trying to do something on your own, make a startup or something. That would probably be a challenge. Yeah, yeah. I mean, niche market, something
Right.
specialized.
The same as everybody else.
Challenge.
Right, and if your market is smaller, I mean, I think it's easier in, say, the United States or in Europe to find a niche market because the markets are huge. There are more niches, right? And, yeah. Yeah.
Marketing companies are some of them more about it. My experience is that where there's smoke, there has to be fire.
Okay.
So what you do is, for example, as a freelancer, you talk to freelancers, and you figure out what kind of work they're doing. And this is something that you can do that's similar. You can see who their clients are, and not steal from them. You can find similar companies.
Mm-hmm.
Or advertising agency. You can talk to them and say, hey, you know, can you tell me how you contact them, how you work with them, what companies are you love working with, what companies that you work with, and you can start making it work with that. Look for signals in the market.
Look, where there's smoke. So you said where there's smoke, there's fire. So look for signals. I like that. So looking for the signals. How many people looked at the logos of the sponsors here? Yeah? What'd you see? Yeah. I used to work for them, but yeah. So if I live here, what's this? Who works there? What do they do? What don't they do? How about them? They're in Durham, North Carolina. They're a Django shop, but they're in Durham, North Carolina. Puerto Rico Science, Technology, and Research Trust. That sounds like something that might be a granting agency or your nonprofit, right? But yeah, so it's having the eyes open and to make those connections. Any other specific challenges that people have encountered in particular, or think we might encounter? Yeah.
Getting students, especially college, before college, invested in tech,
Okay.
before they actually get involved.
So I happen to know that there are some university students who are majoring in computer science here in this row. What got you invested in tech? What made you stay? What made you interested?
First off, I mean, I had
Do you want to turn it? Yeah, you can.
university because we don't get to even know what's computer science before we get to university. So it's a little more finding out when you're in the university and just wishing for it. So before, am I correct that you said before university you didn't even know? Most of us don't.
So you had no exposure. Okay, so maybe one of the steps is prior to university, like, I don't know, if you had a gathering of developers, that maybe, yeah, what do you got?
For elementary schools,
Uh-huh.
they got Arduino. I don't plug it in.
Yeah.
And I happened to ask questions. I had a kid ask me, like, why does the light bulb in my bathroom doesn't break? And I told him, well, that's a bad change for light bulb. You gotta change it to what's important. Calling electrician because it might be the socket or
Right.
the switch is not working. They say, how does that work? Well, you see, electrons are these little things.
You got your.
So, it's kind of, answers that question because when I grew up, I did not know what an engineer was.
Wow.
So an engineer was the guy who drove the train. It wasn't until I was 19
Wow.
that I knew what a mechanical engineer is because my girlfriend, my wife, has an uncle who's an engineer. So from that experience, I said, trying to reach kids and like with schools in my area. I just go to them and say, can I give a 30-minute chat where they ask me questions and I make myself available. So, you don't need to do anything big, just be available and answer questions. That's it.
You just agreeing? Do you have an organization or you just do that as an individual?
I need it.
Yeah. So my hope is that, yes, my hope is that you all talk and post in Slack and meet each other afterwards, right? Because I go home. I mean, that's the other thing is like, I learned in Haiti is like all the, we come from the States and we stay for a while and barely understand the situation, right? But the point is to empower people who live here and who are smart and motivated and who obviously care a lot to be able to work together so you're not having to do it alone. Be that building a business or be that building a tech community or whatever. So, and the next question to just kind of think about is, what are your projections from the future? So make sure that you have in your head, you might be wrong, but as we've learned, certain things that people think are going to happen, especially in the United States, don't necessarily always happen, right? But that you've thought about it, I think, that the future is going to be, yeah. Okay, yeah. Okay. So, yeah, and I'm just going to, at this point, say thank you, and we do have the mic, so if anybody, I'm going to step back, and then if anybody else has any comments, we also have the mic, too, if you want to make a comment. Oh, and sorry, this is, in terms of just format of a business plan, I opted to not focus on that, because that's readily available, and this is a good one. And it also, this one links to the American Express small business site and community, and there's lots and lots of materials available there. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, do you want to, yeah, there's actually nothing happening in this room afterwards, so my hope was that, again, I would shut up, and and y'all would stay and talk. So maybe we can go ahead and transition into that, and we can, and then y'all can talk amongst yourselves and build some connections before you go. Thank you very much.